these birds had started to peck themselves. We introduced Azolla to his farm, planted well, and it was managed. 1 kilogram was above 100,000. In terms of cost, it was quite expensive. Now, from this pond, a farmer gets between 15 to 20 kilograms, times 52 weeks in a year. You're most welcome to Bakuku Azolla Farm, a farm where we train, welcome, and also serve people as far as Azolla farming is concerned. Now, our first and ever Azolla pond at the Bakuku Azolla pond is this pond, and we call it the father of our Azolla at Bakuku. And of course, this has originated and brought about very many farmers to really engage into Azolla farming. You do not need something very, very huge or something very big. When you look at this pond, this is a 1 meter by 1.2 meter pond. However, as we shall be going forward, we shall know why you need a very bigger pond, because the bigger the pond, the bigger the results and the matcher the results and the benefit as far as you want to achieve the saving of 30%. Now, this pond, as you can see, it is one of the shortest or the shallowest Azolla pond, I would say, in the country or in the whole of East Africa, because it is of 0.3 feet deep. The reason majorly being that there is concrete down here and we could not go anything deeper, but why we are able to manage through is because of our availability and our technicality in managing Azolla, that we are able to change this Azolla even every after 1 week, because this requires about 3 to 4 jerrycans of water. It was way back in 2022. As you know, we've now got the digital world. You're scrolling on YouTube, you're watching videos, then I landed on something. That was Azolla. By then, I was hoping to start chicken farming. So when I tried to follow up about Azolla, I realized the benefits in Azolla. One, I realized that it grows in a very short period of time. That is between 7 to 14 days. And then 2, I realized that it doesn't need a very, very big space for me to start. 3, I realized it doesn't need a lot of cost to start. However, the biggest challenge I was facing is where to get the seeds from. Tried to look for the seeds in 2022, but nowhere to be seen. By then, I had to try and look outside Uganda, and that is in Kenya. And we had to get our first batch of Azolla, and that was the last one we got. That is in 2023. We got 3 kilograms that we started with at our farm here. At that time, we had farmers in Uganda who had Azolla. However, they weren't either willing to sell or they were willing to sell, but at a higher. By then, the people I got, their 1 kilogram was above 100,000. In terms of cost, it was quite expensive. So we had to get our Azolla from Kenya, and we got a kilo at 50,000 by then. This pond has got a very unique and good approach, because this is the sample size for very many farmers out there that we set up for you. It is a 2 meters by 5 meters. Now, for you to set up this Azolla pond, something very small, I would even slop into the water. Major reason being that Azolla is so climate friendly, and of course, it is friendly to the human. Never smells, never brings anything like maybe any effect to the available people or people who stay around. You don't need a very big space, but the first aspect in Azolla farming is for you to have Azolla seeds. When you have the Azolla seeds, you're able to start. Number 1, the first and the cheapest and easiest material to set up a pond is a tarpaulin. Tarpaulin or tundubali. Most people call it tundubali. You need a tarpaulin. We need a waterproof tarpaulin that you're able to set up a pond. You need to have a space. While you look here, this space is about 2 meters by 5 meters. This is one of the ponds that we have here. But the best we require is at least 4.5 meters by 4.5 meters, because it gives you a very good pond that you're going to have good harvests from it. The second thing you need is clean water. Now here, what we put here is simply water. We've used rainwater. Maybe you can focus and see the drum of water. Well, that is the drum of water we have. The water we best prefer is rainwater as the first priority. Second priority, you can use borehole water. Third priority, you can use well water or swampy water. But now the question is, can I use national water, that is national water and sewage water, yes. But the difference is when you put the national and sewage water here, you give it about 2 to 3 days so that the chemicals in it evaporate out so that you have clean and safe water for your seed. Now when we are going now to harvest this azolla, as you will see, what we make sure is that we harvest a small portion, leaving the other portion to ensure that growth continues for a long period of time. Like we say that we got this azolla in 2023 and we still have these seeds available at our farm. So if you come to harvest and then you come and pick up everything, automatically you're going to lose your azolla. So if this is the state of my azolla at harvesting, I would come, pick something like this and leave this remaining azolla like the way you're seeing it like this, to leave it to continue growing. When it covers again like this, I come, I remove and leave another azolla to grow. In terms of capital, this does not require something very big because a taplin, some of these are locally available from where you are. Just go into the shops, get a taplin. However, if you cannot get a better one, we also have and can provide them. Now, the second one, as you can see on top, we've got a green-like material. This is called a shade net. This gives a provision for the pond or the azolla not to have direct sunlight because the sunlight directly affects the azolla. So you need a shade net. Now, in the event that you cannot manage to buy or get a shade net, what else do you need? Another farmer in the rural setup would put passion fruit on top here. You benefit from the azolla, but you also benefit from the passion fruit. Another person would get sacks and put on top, but not use iron sheets or the black DPC cavera because we do not want to entirely block the sunshine, but we want to reduce on the sunshine because we know with azolla to grow, we require the sunlight for the green color to be achieved. The next thing you need is fertilizing the water. We fertilize the water using very many things. We have chicken manure, chicken droppings, we have cattle droppings, that is cow dung, but the best is cow dung mixed with loam soil, and the biggest percentage being loam soil. Why? Because loam soil has given us consistent results. No issues of ammonia gas production by the cow dung, no smell, and you find that you are enjoying your azolla. Because what we want to ensure is that this azolla should not affect you in any way, that maybe the pond is smelling. As you can see, on the sacks here, or in the sacks here, we have got what we call loam soil. Because this soil, we always store it here. From here we pack to ensure that we don't have soil erosion of the soil moving away. We pick our soil, put in the bucket. After putting it in the bucket, now what we don't do is we don't pick our soil and just pour. We come, put some water in the bucket and try to mix it because we want porridge-like soil to turn into water. We want it to mix up through in the whole pond. We pick and pour in our pond. You mix thoroughly so that the soil really mixes up with the water. How you harvest azolla? As you can see, this particular basket, it has got holes in it. Now what we do, you simply come to your azolla and you put this basket. Can be a basket but with small holes in. Why? We want you to pick the azolla and water remains, as you're going to witness. You see that magic? Very simple. Once again more, you put it through, pick azolla and water remains inside. You repeat the same process. Once again, pick the azolla and water remains in. This is what we do. And this is what we are going to give you as seeds. Now from here, we want to take you through how you plant azolla. I come into my pond. Feel free to move in because this sapling is a very good one and indeed it lasts long. I'm not scared even if there is a stone down. After now the whole water has received soil, the best practice is for me to leave this water to rest or to relax, like for 1 to 2 hours for the water to stabilize. And now what I'm going to do next is to merge in my seeds. Very simple. Remember the trick here, we say every 1 kilogram of azolla plants 2 square meters. That is 1 meter from here up to here, and then it covers 1 meter, 2 meters. So 1 kilogram plants 1 meter by 2 meters. So I will put my azolla in here. Simply, I can even put it at once like that. What I do, I don't want to lose any azolla by leaving it in the basket. I put off my carrier, and then walk around my azolla. Why I walk around is I'm trying to distribute these seeds to ensure that each seed is independent, not having seeds that are climbing onto each other. Because if these seeds, for example, if these seeds are on top of each other like this, they are not going to continue growing because the roots are not going to have access to the water. Now, to avoid that, we try to separate the seeds to ensure that the pond is really doing well and it grows very fast. Back in 2025 January, we happened to meet a farmer. This farmer had over 2,000 chicken. Now the beauty with him is that he has a swamp at his farm. Whereas he was feeding 70 kilograms daily to over 2,000 birds. It was a burden, and these birds had started to peck themselves. Now what happened? We introduced azolla to his farm, planted well, and it was managed. And from this azolla and his ponds, because he had about 12 ponds that were based in a swamp, he was able to produce between 200 to 250 kilograms. And hence, it helps him to reduce the burden on him of buying the feeds, but also it reduced the burden of the chicken being underfed, and they were having a standard growth. So the growth of the chicken increased drastically. And then two, when you look at the egg production, it helps also to boost the yellowing of the egg yolk, especially for those ones who are doing local chicken, broiler, and they're doing it indoors. You find these birds do get less sunshine, and then they get less queens. Now, the common mistakes beginners should avoid is over-fertilizing. Now, if I use the cow dung here, for example, I come and put in a full sack of cow dung. This cow dung predominantly, as we know, produces ammonia gas, which is used in biogas production. It is going that heat is going to raise, and this water is going to turn into black, and it's going to kill off the seeds. The second the second mistake is delaying to plant your seeds. You receive the seeds today, you called, and then you receive the seeds, and you give them another 1 day before you plant them. In case your pond is not yet ready, you could have something like a drum, maybe a wheelbarrow or basins. Pick your seeds, plant them in those basins as you wait and prepare your pond. Now, in a pond of 4.5 meters width and 4.5 meters length, what is your output or your benefit? First of all, if you got a very good tarpaulin, for example, a tarpaulin that we use here, it can serve you between 3 to 4 years. Remember, after you've set up, you're only going to be required to change water every after 3 weeks, 1 month, reduce the on water and add in. No more cost. Add in loam soil. If you're adding in cow dung, that is now what you're adding in for the 3 years. Now, what is the benefit of a farmer? Now, from this pond, a farmer gets between 15 to 20 kilograms. Now, for us, we take the bare minimum of 15 kilograms every week. Now, from this pond, if every week you're harvesting 15 kilograms, times 52 weeks in a year. For us, what we do, we only take 45 weeks. Why we take the 45 weeks? We leave the 7 to cater for weeks that you might not harvest. Maybe the sunshine was too much, maybe we are changing the water, the azolla did not do very well for those 7 weeks. So now when you look at 15 kilograms per week times 40, times 45 weeks, that gives you 675 kilograms every year from a 4.5 meters by 4.5 meters of azolla pond. Now, when you translate the 675 into money, what do you save at your farm, or what do you benefit? Let's take a bare minimum of 1,000 shillings as your kilogram. Now, 1,000 times 675 kilograms, that is 675,000 that you're getting in a year. But we all know that feeds, total cost of feeds mixed in Uganda or even in some situations, it raises up to 2,500. But for us, we've taken the barest minimum that you'll be gaining, because we don't want to overhike something. Then we try to not make it be realistic. We want for you to be able to understand locally. For a farmer in Mbale, for a farmer in Imbara, because we have even farmers whereby you find their maize is always at 500, at 300. So when you talk at 2,000, it's going to be like, this is not being realistic. But now we go with 1,000. So now, if this pond gives you 675,000 every year, now for 3 years, that this sapling is supposed to serve you. You just say times 3. What you get is 2,225,000 shillings. That is in 3 years. Now you remember, even after the 3 years, there is a possibility that your sapling, Tundubali, remains. Then 2, your seeds are going to remain, because what we advise is have more than one pond. As you've been seeing our videos, we have very many ponds at our farm. That in this pond, when you're harvesting, the other pond is not being harvested. You keep on rotating your seeds from the 2, the 3 ponds you have. You find you're maintaining your ponds. Now, another farmer who has got a concrete pond, concrete using bricks, cement, and so on and so on. This is going to last for many, many years. Find someone's having it for 10 years, 20 years. When it has a leakage, you just come and pile in some cement, some waterproof cement, and you continue. Another farmer who is having the black DPC Cavera or the dam liner, it can also serve you for a very long period of time. Another farmer who is having a swampy area, when mud accumulates, you just remove the mud and you do what? And you replant. So you find that you're recycling and benefiting a lot from your azolla. Those that are beginning, you might sense that there are a lot of frogs in your pond. Hey, farmers call you that, oh, I'm now seeing a lot of frogs, a lot of mosquitoes. What do I do? Is it a problem? I would say those are not a problem to the growth of azolla. Though they might be a problem to you making noise and so on. So what you do is release off the whole water. You first pick the azolla. That's why I advise you have more than one pond. You pick this azolla, replant it. For example, you can focus in the other pond. If that pond has got very many frogs, it is very simple for me to say, okay, now I want to kill off the entire process or that life cycle of the frogs. I pick the azolla from that particular pond, bring them into this pond, the seeds, release out everything, the water, the soil, and so on. Plant it put in new water, new soil, and put in the seeds. The life cycle of those frogs is lost. Even if you had mosquitoes there, that life cycle is lost. It will start afresh, which will take a long time. Maybe also the other challenge could be about coloring, color changes. But this is majorly brought about by lack of a shade net. Like you're seeing this pond, maybe you can focus it up. Your sink doesn't have a what? A shade net. But now here, it has a provision of a natural shade. Now, what are the challenges we face when you put it under a natural shade? You're going to notice that these leaves and the flowers, at a certain point of time, they're going to drip off and fall into your pond. Your pond you're going to have dirty seeds. So what we advise is that if you are under a very good shade, a tree shade, a natural shade, what you do, you could even get a mosquito net and put it flat on top to ensure that your seeds are protected so that you have smart and very clean azolla for you to feed to your chicken.
You've heard from Mr. Azolla himself, and I think you're now good to go. In case you have further inquiries, Brian, how do we contact you?
On our numbers, they are both on WhatsApp. MTN is 0786 18 56 63. Airtel 075 70 344 86. Now, we are located in Seta Mukono, along Jinja Highway, opposite Landmark Junior School. From Kampala, before you reach Seta High School. From Mukono, after Seta High School. At the new church, immediately after the new church from Mukono, the St. Augustine Catholic Church, you see Landmark Junior School, you see Total. Come back at Total, we shall pick you. Just a few minutes, 2 to 3 minutes when we've already picked you.
From my interaction with Brian, I realized that actually azolla is providing a lot of opportunities, is opening up another route for opportunities for youths in the chicken value chain. You can grow it on your farm and feed it to your chickens, which will help you to kind of cut down on the feeding costs, but you can also sell it. Yeah, you can also employ other people, because in the process you're not going to be, if you have like many ponds around, you'll not be managing them alone, but that means you are providing another window for employment for the youths out there. Then the other thing that as we conclude this video, I want to appreciate my Ugandan brothers and sisters who are coming through for me. I at one point thought that the people in diaspora are the ones who are going to come through like real fast, but I'm so grateful that my Ugandan community is giving in the contributions, and I don't take that for granted. So I'm calling upon, that means the Ugandan community is actually posing a challenge to those people in the diaspora, Kenya, USA, UK, the Gambia, Rwanda, and all those people who are watching this, who are consuming my content. I want you to come through for me. Let's get this grown so that we can really produce quality work. That's my final request. And with that, after you have subscribed, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.